Okay, it says I am live. Gosh, we were having a few lags there, I guess. But we are up. I'm just going to double check. Yep, it looks like we are up. Very good. Okay, super. Well, good day. And I'm so excited to be here with you today. I have a lot to share with you and hope that I can stir you up a little bit and you can find some inspiration in today's talk. I go live each week and hope to give you a little piece of some of the essential things that I've incorporated into my creative practice that have benefited me. And as I come alongside of you, that you would be able to identify your struggles sooner and that I could offer you solutions so that you can begin to, create a more satisfying and creative way of living. So we're all looking for that happy, useful, and whole, that sweet spot. And it's not somewhere where we get to and we stay. And that's the important thing. So often we buy into these ideas and where we come up with them. Sometimes we make them up ourselves, but other times it's because we hear others remark about themselves or people speak things to us. If you've been aware of your creativity, you probably have had some pretty wild stuff said about you, and not purposeful or not to hurt you, but art was never taken that seriously. We were always encouraged to find something more reliable or sustaining, and so sometimes our creative inspirations were kind of squashed, or we were encouraged to look into other things, so to speak. So anyhow, we want to break free of all of those chains, those invisible, walls and blocks. And sometimes we realize we have them and sometimes we don't. But anyhow, today I want to talk about first some of the top indicators of living creatively. All month we've been talking about doodling and the way it impacts our creative practice, the way it can help us to develop our artistic abilities and skills. And so I've created this group so I can come alongside of you, and it's just been good for me to have others come alongside of me. It's a windy path. There's going to be times when we come into the twists and turns, and that's going to look like life happens and life gets busy. So we put ourselves aside. We put the creative practices aside. We don't dream like we used to dream. We don't take the risks that we used to take because we're stuck and we don't even know it. We're discouraged. We don't even know it. And so anyhow, so I wanted to start out by just, 3 of the top indicators that you're living creatively, because the cost of living creatively is big. Okay. It has to do with our willingness to be challenged and change patterns of our thoughts, of our speech, of our behavior. And sometimes these haven't been checked out. We haven't really examined those kinds of things for 10 or 20 or 30 years. I often say I'm not a 30-year-old year older version of my 25-year-old self. And several years ago, here I was at 55, and I realized that. I was like, oh my gosh, some of the things I've been doing for so long, and it just was habitual. I never really gave it any thought. And some of those things, quite a few of them, like the reasons that I was doing what I was doing had expired, and I was finding myself kind of blah and not motivated. And it was because I wasn't being challenged. I was doing the same old. So to live a creative life, we have to realize that it's like an ongoing process. And because it is ongoing, that means it changes all the time. Nature is just a wonderful teacher for me and reminder that things are always changing. We can all go outdoors and look up at the sky. And I'll tell you, I had a mentor years ago, and one afternoon we went out and laid on the grass looking up at the sky. And I thought, what are we doing? And she encouraged me. She said, just keep watching, keep looking. And we laid there for a long period of time, 20, 30 minutes. That's long. That was long at the time. And what I can tell you from that experience is that the sky is constantly changing, that the clouds are shifting, that the light is changing. There's movement. And so what I'll tell you is that creativity, it's ever changing. It's just evolving all the time. And that's the whole idea with this group. Evolve yourself creatively. So we use those things. We use a new mindset, a refreshed mindset to help us change that. And as we have a new mindset, then we know what skills and tools we need to grab onto or maybe further develop. So if you're stuck, it's not always about buying that next thing. And so many of us get caught up in that shiny new thing. And we're over here and we're over there and we're all over the place and we never get anything done. How many of you have projects that you started and you never finished? Okay. Do you have a project that you've started and it's put away, you've never finished it? Okay. That's because something happened. Life happened. Maybe you got to a point with it where you had a belief or some sort of pattern come up. Maybe it's a number of things. I just find it very interesting that I can pull up something because I too have things that haven't been finished. And I'm not saying that to shame you or to condemn you. I'm saying it because there's reasons why we come to that place where we either pause or we put it away. And sometimes we pause for a period of time and then nothing happens and we put it away. And sometimes there's good reasons for that. I tell you, there's always a good reason for it. And it's always right on time when we bring it out again. I just find that to be the case. And that's exciting to find that, oh my gosh, with art, there's no real mistakes. The only thing I can think of is just not continuing and not going back to it. So it's not a matter of how long we've stopped, but just the awareness that we have. And what do we want to do about it? We begin again. So we can sometimes come to that awareness quickly and sometimes slowly, but it doesn't matter, just so we come to that awareness that, oh, I've stopped, and take a look to see what it is that will help you begin again. So creativity is an ongoing process. It asks us to go where we've never gone before. The reason that we sometimes stumble on finishing a project, we get stuck, is because we come up against ourselves, either our skill set, and where maybe we're not quite sure how to do something and we don't know where to ask. Okay. It could be that you know how to do it. It's just not as perfect as you like it. Okay. Has that ever happened? It could be that, you started something and you realized you really don't enjoy this like you thought you would. That happens too. So I know for me, I have a box of unfinished projects that a lot of times when I am feeling like, oh, I want to learn how to do that, or that looks fun, or this is a neat technique, I will make a little sample size something of it. Okay, if it's painting, I will do like some small cards or maybe a journaling page to try out some things. If it's with fibers or canvas or whatever, I make a miniature version of something. And that's fun too, because sometimes what I've done, it might be fun for us sometime for me to pull my box out and show you. But there's been times when I've gone through that box and selected 5 or 6 things and I put them together to make one item. Now that was a lot of fun. So it didn't marry me to that particular technique. But what I did is I made an object, a project out of those concepts that represented my developmental skills, so to speak. I know back when my daughter was in fourth grade, she was part of a quilting club after school. And the teacher, at the end of the year, she was going to leave the school. So the girls were like, oh my gosh, I want to stay in the quilting club. So I offered myself to run the quilting club. So anyhow, let me just make sure that I'm on airplane mode here. I thought I did. I just heard a signal though. So here I am at the end of the school year, and I take on these gals, and it was so neat because just to get to know them a little bit, and I saw what they had been working on, and I asked them, hey, what more can I help you with? And we had a little tea party, so to speak, and we all talked a little bit about what would be fun to do as far as the quilt. Came up with some fabulous ideas. And one of the gals had a sister at the university here in Florida, one of the universities, and they had a museum at the college. And this museum held a quilting contest every year. And lo and behold, if we didn't get the girls into this quilting contest, now they did not compete. Theirs became an exhibit, but they got to present theirs in a museum, which was awesome. So a lot can come from these brainstorming sessions. And I say this to you because, hey, if it happened for them, it can happen here in our group too. We can work together and cultivate some inspiration for you, to tell you and to tell you about our experience, but more importantly, inspire you to ask yourself, what do I want to do with my art? What is this for? Where is my creative practice going to take me? And it's neat. But what I ended up doing with these girls for just a couple of weeks so that we can get to know each other, I knew each of the girls just through interacting with them and being participating with my daughter's classroom. But I got to know a little bit of each of these gals through a couple of weeks. We made little sample blocks and we tried different quilting techniques. So we made some blocks, and that way I got to see what their skill level was, how they felt about their work, and also just some things more about where they would like to go, or how they felt like, like if they were more inclined to do smaller projects, or if they liked the challenge of something larger. Sometimes we also did a group project where we all made part of a quilt and put it together, and we gifted that. So lots of different things can happen with creativity, but we don't know until we start asking. And so it is a process. It's taking us somewhere where we haven't been before. Let's face it, why would we want to create if we're not going to grow? Okay, so we're going to grow creatively. But importantly, too, is that each of these principles, as we grow artistically, applies to life. So, this creativity, it calls us into a life where we fear less because we've practiced letting go and moving beyond what we know creatively. Well, we can do that in life too. We can say, you know what, I've never done this before, or I've done this, but I'd like to have a better experience. And so I'm going to let go of the fear, or maybe even anger. Sometimes we have situations where we've had, some distension between people or family or neighbors, and where you want to say, you know what, I'd like to show up differently. And so you can use your art principles for that. And I know many times it's like, for me, I want a do-over. I do want a do-over. And so I liken it to, just being able to go up to a canvas that I've been painting on. Let's say, for instance, you have a painting that you started a while back and it didn't get finished. Maybe there's some part of that painting that's the block. Maybe you don't like that thing, that part of it, and it's holding you back from moving on because you don't know what to do with something that you don't like. Maybe it didn't occur to you that you could paint over that, okay? And you could do that a couple of ways. So you can take some gesso and you could gesso right over that area, just that area. You could paint over it in a number of ways, kind of like cover up tattoos. Okay. When there's a such thing as a cover up tattoo. If you have a tattoo you're not crazy about, got it when you're younger years and you're like, or so many times we'll get, I don't have any myself, but I have worked with others who've had tattoos that no longer really had the meaning it used to have. And so they get a cover-up tattoo. So it's an updated version of some kind of declaration or statement or aspiration that they have. So anyhow, the same thing with canvas and painting. But see, take that same principle into your relations. For a do-over, what would it take to kind of block out or paint over that particular negative energy? It could be just the resistance you have. It could be there's an emotional risk involved with connecting with this person or this situation. And what would it look like if you neutralize that in some way? So there's life skills. There's things that you can do to change your attitude. Come to a place of forgiveness for yourself and for the situation or the person, and then move into something new for a new experience. And that's a process. Okay. That's not just an overnight thing. And you can't do it by yourself. There has to be, when you're in life, you come into agreement with others. So just like when I sat down with the gals during quilting, and talked to each one of them, and they each shared a little bit about their experience and where they want to go with it. And some of them just wanted to show up and follow the directions. Others had much bigger ideas. And so it's just a vital part of moving beyond and starting something new. So you have fewer, adversities and resentments, and you can come into an esteemable process instead of feeling sorry for yourself or being upset or disappointed or frustrated because you're stuck. Okay, this is an ongoing process. So when you commit to your creative practice, you'll gain more understanding on how your what and why need to work together. Okay, and that's really what I was just talking about. The what and the why. What you do, why you do it. Okay. And then the creativity is how you do it. That's how it all works together. So it's like three facets. And this prevents us from falling into the trap of understanding only enough to get us by. All right. Maybe you just want to get it through, which is fine. Maybe you just want to finish a project. Maybe that's the victory for you with this particular project. It's just the act that you actually finished it, that you actually took the risk and did something that was messy, beautiful, and imperfect. Okay. So now as you come to that again, you can say, I did it messy, beautiful, and imperfect. And I'm going to continue to develop my art and myself for reaching a more happy, useful, and whole feeling. So you'll let your art take you into that and practice it. So I know a lot of times I combine the art and the self, and I feel like really that's what my message is. That's what my art is. My art is a reflection of what's inside of me. And I think that's pretty much true with all artists. It's just that I especially love working with women to help them develop their art and their inner life. So I'm always connecting that. And that's why today I wanted to focus on getting the most out of this group. Because sometimes we join things and we're not quite sure. We know we want to be inspired. I know that's the number one answer each of you answered on those questions that came before I accepted you into this group. And the number one answer was inspiration. So how can you get the most out of this group? Now, what some of you are thinking inspiration is, now that you're in the group, you find that, maybe this isn't what the kind of inspiration I was thinking about. Could be that. And it could be that, it's interesting, but you're not ready for it right now. Or that sounds neat, but I'm not there. I don't need that right now. But you're enjoying kind of along the fringe of the group. Wherever you are, if you're in it and getting the inspiration, getting the results you're looking for, or you're kind of riding along, seeing what's going on. I want to tell you a little bit about how I work so that you can begin to, like I said, just get the most out of the group, no matter where you are, no matter what your artistic ability is or what projects you're working on. Maybe you're in ministry and you're working with others, so you want to learn creatively how to work through things. Maybe you are just beginning some kind of creative practice, or even considering getting back to a creative arts practice. Or I say practice because I just want to, I guess, always emphasize that it's a process. And so it's not an event. It's not, before I started painting, and I've only been painting for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. I thought painting, you got up to the canvas and you painted it, and that was it. I had no idea of all the layers and the processes in painting a painting, which to some may seem like I'm saying it's difficult, but that's not what I'm saying at all. Painting in and of itself is not difficult. The difficult part is being patient with yourself and the process as you continue to layer the paint on, whatever means that is. And so anyhow, I just love this. And that's why I come behind the scenes each week. It's all about evolving yourself creatively. Because see, as you evolve, I evolve. As I evolve, you evolve. We're on this journey together, and I've created it so that you're not alone as you go through this little long windy path, and that when you come up against a twist or turn, you're not going to get discouraged or stuck. You're going to know that, hey, Sarah's done that too. She's talked about that many times. She talks about it a lot. She talks about process. That's what I'm going to do for you. And in doing that, those small essential pieces of my transformation are going to give you doable actions and steps that will challenge you and expand your creativity so that you're going to create the art and the life that you want. Okay. And some of you are right now and you want to really work on art. Your focus is art. And others are here because of your inner life. And you just want a greater understanding of what's going on inside of you, or maybe just a safe place to take yourself. And so that, no matter your need, it's something that we can do here. So in this group, it's like getting free coaching. I want you to be very well aware that you're free to post your questions. I want to see that. Questions like, I started painting this 3 weeks ago, and I got to this point, and for some reason, I'm not sure if I'm on the right track. You may have questions as it regards to color blending or composition. Maybe you have questions on what product, what kind of medium is going to give you the effect or the illusion that you're trying to create. And I can help you with that. I can either point you to areas, some resources that I have in the group. I can answer those questions directly. I can even make a little Loom video and post there for you. So the more you ask of me, and I encourage you all to do this, the more you receive. It just works that way. I'm not going to go on and post and just start blurting out information all the time, because I want it to be pertinent. It has to be meaningful for me. It has to serve you in a way. And if I know how to serve you, I can do that well. I usually go above and beyond. Another way you can get out of the group something is to share your progress. Okay, let us see what you're up to. As far as that goes, you can go into the group and create an album as well. And to do this, you can go to the left column on Facebook. You'll see it says photos. If you click on photos, it's going to show you a lot of photos, all the photos that have been in the group. But if you go across the top, you'll see albums. So click on albums. It's just like on your personal profile. Click on albums, and when you do, you'll have the choice over on the right-hand side to create an album. So you click create, you upload your photos, and you name it your name, okay? And that way, we will be able to see your album, and you can go back and reflect on your progress as you've come through the group. I love taking pictures of my process. So I will photograph pretty often. And you've seen some examples of that in the group where I will show you where I begin, and as I take it through the process, what it looks like. That's the best way I've learned about technique and developing my skill set. And it's the way I work with my clients when I'm doing creative coaching, because I want to see what your process is like. We take a look at your project, and I can go back with you and talk about what was going on here. What was this about? And what it was that compelled you to add this and this. What's moving you? See, the whole idea of creating intuitively, and that's the way I paint. It's abstract, it's intuitive, it's like responsive art, is I teach you how to tune in, to feel it, and to move with it. And it is color, it's line, shape, form. It's beautiful. And there's so much we can do because this is like a new language. So I teach you the language and I show you how to utilize it to tell the story that you want to tell. See, that's where we find our voice and our style of our creativity. So that's why these few simple things are going to really help you if you want to, and I'm here for you. Each week on Monday, I go live and I pick a topic, and I usually, it's a piece of my transformation process. It's through StreamYard, and it's the same every week. So there will be an announcement, but you can go on it. This is a one-time thing. You go on to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you give them permission to connect with you. And what this does is that way, when I'm live, whether you're watching it live or the replay, you can ask questions. You can make comments to me as well as some of the others that are watching, and it uses your name. So we know who we're talking with. And that's how we build relationships. That's how we can support one another. That's how I can give you some more coaching and answer the questions. That's where I can give you the inspiration and encouragement. So when you see the live, that's what you're seeing. You see StreamYard.com/Facebook. That's simply a one-time step you take to give Facebook permission, or StreamYard, permission to use your Facebook profile name for comments in the group. Okay, when I'm live or you're watching the replay. So it's really helpful for me because I know who I'm talking with. And again, it's relationally, it's really good for you because you're going to build relationships within the group as well as being able to get more help. So that's about live on Mondays. Now, again, from your comments and your post, that's how I come up with what I talk about live. And if I don't hear anything in the group, which happens, I'm telling you, it breaks out in crickets sometimes. You just can't hear anything. What I will do is I will take topics that I'm talking about, with my creative coaching clients, and I will infuse them into the group because they, like you, are growing in the likes of this as well. So I don't use their material, but the topics, the questions that I'm getting from my creative coaching, I bring into the group. So that's what I do for filler until you warm up and start asking me your questions. So I just encourage you today, just take a couple of minutes and write down a few questions. Post those in the group for me so that it gives me some energy. It stirs me up so that I know what I can deliver to you, because that's what's going to make a difference. You growing makes it a difference. You evolving your creativity, developing your art is going to be what makes the difference. I mean, that's what is going to be most important to you. And when you evolve, it's going to automatically evolve me and the others as well. And that's exciting. So post those questions, show us anytime what's going on so that we can engage and find, find ourselves tracking in a way that's good for everybody. So let's see what else. So let's just review that because I've covered a lot. Is to get the most out of the group, you get free group coaching. I've talked quite a bit about that. You can post questions, share your progress. You can create an album so that we can see your work and your collections. You're going to go on and give StreamYard permission to use your name and to connect with Facebook so that when you do engage with us, we see your name and we're able to give you more help and connect with you easier. You know that you are free to post questions and show us your progress anytime. And that brings me to something that I've just started recently, which is organizing the materials in units. I oftentimes get on a topic and I'll stay with it for a little bit because that's just my style of exploration. That's the way I develop myself, my mindset, my skill set, my tool set, by really soaking in on something. And when I say soak in, I mean just that. It's like I really pay attention to what does that mean? How do I embody that idea of doodling to expand my creativity? Okay, how do I really take that on? What does that look like for me? How do I practice it? What do I begin with? Am I going to use a pad and a pen? Am I going to use a pencil and some paper? Am I going to use my iPad with my iPen? There's a lot of different ways we can incorporate doodling into our day. Do I doodle while I'm in my quiet time during meditation? That's what I do. Sometimes there are things in the afternoon where maybe you work at home and you're having a difficult time taking breaks. That's really common, where you'll work straight through and then you'll have little to no energy or excitement left in you because you give so much that you're just left and you have nothing to give. So perhaps you can incorporate doodling into your day, perhaps taking a lunch. And while you're having lunch, maybe doodle some so that you are taking time out for you. You're incorporating the doodling, and try it for a week and see what kind of change you have. Perhaps doodling at the end of the day is good for you. Maybe it's a good place for you to land after your busy day. Whether you work in the home, out of the home, maybe you just are busy in the community or have children that you're working with. No matter what it is, we all have to make a decision to put creativity into our day. And while we can be more creative during the day, taking a time out on a daily basis produces something more. It's that consistent practice that changes. And like I said, it helps me to embody what it is that I've got a vision for. You know, we all have a vision or goals, and we want to be taking doable little action steps on a consistent basis, in a way that we can sustain this practice so that we're moving towards our goal, so that we don't fall into the trap of having unexamined habits for 10, 20, and 30 years. We don't want to get in our way any longer. Most of us are either in the second half of our life or we're approaching that. And wouldn't it be neat to have something more meaningful, purposed, so that you have a satisfaction of maybe doing things your way for a bit? And I don't say that in a selfish way or the fact that you've regretted anything, but it's just time. It's time. And why not? So if not now, when? So I've started organizing these materials in the units. So if there's going to be topics in there, and they're not required, when you have a different kind of a setup, I can make a setting to where it's a required action. It's not required. These are optional resources for you to go and utilize. Now, if you use it, you could mark it done, because then you would be showing the group, oh, this is what I'm working on. And you don't have to expound a lot, but it would be good to see what everybody's using. So that's also exciting, because that's the way, again, that we're going to meet with others. So anyway, that's a lot. I feel like, gosh, we've really can get so much out of the group. And if I didn't cover something and you'd like to get something more, I'd love to hear about it. So let me know what's going to help you get the most out of this group. All right. And I should know by questions that you're going to ask. So in the recap, when you see the post for the recap, I'm going to ask you some questions, to post your questions so that we can see where you're at and get excited with you. So anyhow, I also mentioned that I'm going to give you some announcements for some free coaching opportunity. So what I've decided to do is that beginning in July, I'm introducing a monthly creative coaching session. It's going to be a Zoom call. So you can just use the Zoom link to hop on, listen to see what it is others are working on. And there's going to be a Q&A at the end. The whole premises for it, this free creative coaching, is it's just about you. All right. So if you're interested, you can go in and there's a Google Doc that it's the hot seat coaching form. You fill that out and submit it. And then I connect with you and we set up a time. So if the coaching call begins at 9, that's what our first one begins at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. I believe it's July 12th. Okay. So we'll have someone at 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, and then we will open it up for questions. So they're 15-minute blocks. Of course, I'm not going to be exact about it. So if we run a little bit over, that's no big shake. But during that time, I want to hear a little bit about your project, what your challenge is, what kind of problems you're having with it, and give you some encouragement. And then with the time remaining, we'll have a Q&A. And I will answer as many questions as that you have. So I don't have an end time, but I know that even if you don't feel compelled at this point to schedule a hot seat, maybe you're not even sure what questions you have, tune in because you learn so much from what other people have and what they're asking. So it's a great opportunity, again, to get more out of this group, to get the help you need, to get inspired. And like I said at the beginning, maybe you've got a painting or a project that you've not finished. Could be an art journal page. It may be just the thing for you to get that out and to find out a little bit more, get some more understanding as to what was the block, what stopped you. And if what stopped you then, is it relevant now? Just because it stopped you then, perhaps that was just like a 2 or 3 week something that you put it on hold, but that ended up to be 2 years. So you can go back and say, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember why I put that on hold, but I don't have a good reason right now. So yes, so I'm going to pull that out. Maybe you need a little help as to like, wow, how do I warm up to this project again? And I can give you some tips with that. So anyway, as I'm prompted, I will share more and more with you. I love to go above and beyond. I love to really challenge you and inspire you. So what I'm saying is your call to action today is to save the date, July 12th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm really looking forward to this time together. This is like a free virtual creative coaching session. It's a great opportunity. It's a Zoom event, so it's purpose for us to gather to get help, encouragement, and inspiration. So I want to challenge you so that any barriers that are holding you back, things that are just getting in the way, we want to break through those so that we can get your creative juices flowing. We can get you in your happy place. So we can get you in a zone where you're living more creatively. So again, I want to help you on this windy path. And if you're stuck and discouraged, don't let those twists and turns baffle you. Really, you don't have to. Maybe you've just been hemming and hawing about doing something more and having a desire to reconnect with your creativity. Mark your calendar. Really, come and be with us for this free virtual Zoom Q&A. Listen to those that are in the hot seat. If you feel compelled and want to just take that risk and really like set yourself in a position to get going, sign up for a hot seat. Okay. So I'm going to look forward to seeing you. I will keep posting in the group about this. You will find that I've created an announcement for this Zoom session, so you can get the details in the group, okay, under announcements. And anyhow, well, this was fun. I love kind of sharing with you my vision and what it is, why I show up here. I hope I can see you and see more about what you're doing. And like I said, create an album. Let me see what's going on. Take advantage of the help that you can get. And in the meantime, you're going to share it so that others get to know you. So it's not just me, but it's the collective. And I know that sometimes these virtual settings are a little daunting. I know for me, more and more of life is happening digitally. And I do miss the human connection. I really do. But we do have this opportunity. And if we get the right mindset and say, hey, this is a creative expression. This is a place where we can come and meet together. We can envision that we're all sitting around a round table and we're talking. We can pretend we're in a studio at our easels, and we can see, even in the background, you can see what I'm working on. So it connects you with me, and we can connect with one another. That's what I want to foster in this group. And that's what has worked for me. So if it works for you, it works for me, it may work for you too. All righty. So enjoy your day. Have a great week. And thank you so much for listening in. All righty. Bye-bye. See you later.